What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Mike Rock Uncensored live here on Sunday. I am trying to get better. We were supposed to stream at 10 a.m. this morning. I've got a lot going on this week and possibly even next week. So just the fact that we're here is a blessing, and I'm glad that you guys can join us. But anyways, man, we want to dive right into our title and a lot of things that have been going on within the MAGA, what I am starting to call the cult party, and I will explain why. I have not changed my views on how I feel about the Democrats and the liberals and everything they did for people like me to vote against them this past election. I still believe the things. I'm very consistent in what I believe, but I have always said that more than right versus left, I am right versus wrong. And for me, I don't have a blind loyalty to MAGA or any other party other than my kids and my family when it comes to making the best decisions for this country. And I feel that we've gotten to a point, I've said it all day on Twitter, as a matter of fact, that I really believe the MAGA cult has become the Democrats 2.0. And I know that's going to infuriate them, and they're going to think that we're turning on Trump. And it's not so much that we're turning on Trump. It's the fact that people in his little cult feel that he can do no wrong, and they are willing to use the same exact tactics that the Democrats and liberals use that made us not want them in power anymore. So basically what they've said, what it's come down to is that they're fighting for freedom, or so they say, because they don't have the power. They're saying censorship is wrong and cancel culture is wrong because they don't have the power to choose who gets canceled or not. But now that we're in power, now that we have that power, I got to turn this microphone down a little bit because I see it's going into the red. But now that we have this power, now that Trump is in office, all of a sudden it just became okay to start canceling people who disagree with Trump instead of taking things to a vote and letting the election system and the voting system actually do its job. That's what, if we should have fixed anything from the very beginning, we should have fixed the voting system and the election system to make sure it was working properly so that the democracy or the republic that we live in can actually do its job. Nobody wants to feel like things are being rigged. And if we as a whole decide that something's an idea or a bill or a policy that somebody wants to bring to the table is a bad idea by the majority, then we can vote against it. And you can be mad all you want to, but you shouldn't be trying to get people fired or to say that I'm going to pull my endorsement when this person has had your back the entire time. You don't have, and yes, I'm speaking on Marjorie Taylor Greene. You guys can be mad at her all she wants to, but I have come to learn that when a specific party or a specific group or agenda decides that they want to speak out and cancel a particular person, then I need to listen to that person more. I need to hear it from the horse's mouth and know why they want this person canceled. They want Candace Owens canceled. They want Tucker Carlson canceled. And now they've decided to cancel Marjorie Taylor Greene. And why is that? Because they believe, for the most part, and I'm sure that there's differing opinions or there's little nuances between each of them that make you want to hate each and every one of them if you're in the MAGA cult, of course. But what I'm saying is that for the most part, they don't support an Israel first agenda. They don't hate the Jewish community. They don't hate Israel. They just want to make sure that we as Americans are being taken care of first. And you can't say that you're doing that when you're sending billions of dollars on a regular basis to Israel, and yet you don't want to support EBT and SNAP benefits for people who need them. And I'll speak on that in a little bit. I just want to get back to what's going on with this MAGA cult and why there is a civil war going on within the Republican Party. Because what MAGA has failed to remember is that this is the Republican Party. They failed to remember that Trump is a president. He is not God. He is prone to making mistakes. And with that said, before you sit up there and try to say that I'm a traitor or anything of that sort, I still want Trump to succeed. But I have no problems telling you that what he's been doing, the fact that he's not paying to the people who are struggling is wrong. When it comes to like EBT and SNAP, for instance, you're going to go ahead and make them quit cold turkey because what they're going through doesn't apply to you, that you're not struggling the same way that they are. Well, guess who created that issue? You may say it was the Democrats, and it was. But it was the government that created that dependency on SNAP. And then you just so instead of taking partial blame and helping to wean these people off of SNAP, you're basically going to force a lot of them to have to quit cold turkey and not care about what happens to them as a result. And that's the reason why people like Mom Donnie won. Mom Donnie won not because people like me can support what he's talking about. He campaigned on the right points. He made the people feel important, and Trump is not doing that. And then outside of that, you got this thing with the Epstein files. I've got my own theories as to why Trump doesn't want to release the files. I don't necessarily believe that there's anything in there that could prove him guilty. I'm not saying that he wasn't a playboy, that he didn't have his fair share of issues with adult women. I'm not gonna say that. I think he was a playboy. I really do. I think he loved women. He loved sex. He was a man back in those days, and men back in those days, they did some things. I'm not going to protect any of that. What I'm saying when it comes to the Epstein files itself, I really believe that if the Democrats had anything, they've had these files. They've already had all of this information before Trump got into office, and I truly believe that if they had anything to prove that he was a pedo, whatever you want to call it, I think that they would have released that. They tried to send him to prison for everything else. If they could have used that against him and hid everything else, the Democrats would have done that a long time ago. So I don't think that's the reason why he's hiding the Epstein files. To me, what makes more sense is that he took AIPAC money. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I'm just going off the information that I've received. Trump has received more than $230 million in AIPAC money. And I believe that if the Epstein files came out, it would prove detrimental to people within the Jewish community. I believe, and that's not speaking out against all of Israel or all of the Jewish community. I'm talking about those people, those rich elites within that are in the Jewish community. I think it would prove detrimental to them. And since I think Trump has been bought. In other words, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. I believe Trump has been bought, at least in that regard. We will let you do all of these things for the country, but you gotta leave this alone. I truly believe that that's why Trump is fighting to be. And when you really look at how Trump is operating, he's making some really good decisions. He's trying to be a businessman in a country that needs a leader. And so he's trying to practice the art of the deal, and he's making deals, to me, in my opinion, where he should not be making deals. I don't care where we're at as a country. I don't care how much more we can improve as a country. When it comes to protecting innocent children, innocent victims, there should be no compromise at all. And again, that's just going on my belief that the reason why Trump is not releasing the Epstein files has nothing to do with his guilt and everything to do with other people he is protecting, people who have either bought him off or possibly even threatened him. So I'm trying to give Trump the benefit of the doubt. There has been some good going on in the country as a result of him becoming president. Absolutely. But his little MAGA cult, these blind followers, the people who are refusing to step up and say, hey, you know what? As much as we love what's going on, wrong is wrong and we need to address this. You campaigned on certain promises and you have not delivered on those promises. In fact, you're doing just the opposite. The people who are asking you to deliver on what they voted for, you are now calling them weak-minded for even asking. That's the reason why we have a civil war. or the makings of a political civil war, not an actual civil war. Don't misquote anything I ever say, but the makings of a political civil war within the Republican Party, because MAGA is refusing to, so I guess, surrender to the idea that they are still Republicans. They truly believe that they are their own party. They truly believe that if you don't believe in and support every last thing that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth, you are a traitor to the cause. You are what they call a rhino. You are not a real Republican. MAGA is not Republican, period. We have the right to agree or disagree. That's the reason why we have congressional seats in the congressional seat members, House members, Senate members. That's the reason why we have them. So with that, everybody needs to agree and vote on a particular thing. Otherwise, why are they even there? If you're going to tell a person, if you don't vote with me, I'm going to cancel you. I'm going to get you fired. I'm going to make sure the people vote against you. Why do we even have more than one person in those positions in the first place? They're there to protect us from people like that. And no, so if anybody wants to ask, well, do you now regret that you voted for Trump? No, I do not. As of right now, if nothing else, Trump was the lesser of two evils, period. I just don't agree with how he is delivering his message at this point. I believe there's a lot of good being done, but I also believe Trump's biggest problem is his own ego. He doesn't believe the people matter anymore, that he can make any decision he wants. The people aren't smart enough to understand. The people aren't strong enough to support to be able to support what he's trying to do, because they don't comprehend it. So I'm just going to go ahead and make that decision for them. And then when the results come out, they'll be happy with me in the end. But guess what? While all of that's going on, the people have to approve of both you, what you're doing, and the people that you're trying to get put into office. And that's the reason why you guys failed in the midterm. That's the reason why when Trump is done being in office, you guys have to decide who's the next best person to do what Trump was doing within that MAGA cult. And the answer is absolutely nobody. There is nobody in the Republican Party right now that can duplicate what Trump is able to accomplish simply because of what he went through. What he went through in order to get into the presidency. I don't believe MAGA is dead. There's a lot of people saying MAGA is dead, and I don't believe MAGA is dead. I just believe that they have become Democrats all over again. They have decided to replace one deep state for another, and they truly believe that now that we're in power, we can do to the Democrats and the liberals exactly what has been done to us in order to get to where we want. But now you've run into another problem. Because you have people like me, and I'm not saying I'm anybody. I'm saying there are more people like me than you care to admit who are about to come out and say, I can't vote like that anymore. I'm still conservative or I'm still Republican, but I can't stand for what you guys are doing. So I'm going to have to go in a different direction. And what that's going to do, whether you want to blame it on us, you want to put the guilt trip back on us because we're willing to vote in a different direction. I'm not willing to vote with the Democrats, but if I have to vote Libertarian or with another Republican that isn't popular or whatever the case may be, then I'm going to do that. I'm not going to let you guilt trip me into voting for someone who needs to have their ego checked, period. So if I don't vote with the Republicans, you're saying, but not voting with the Democrats. You're saying that if I don't vote with Republicans, that removes a vote and that gives the Democrats more of an opportunity to win. That's not my fault. That's your fault. When you decided to stop delivering on your promises, when you decided that the people no longer mattered, you made us vote in a different direction. And the sad thing is outside of this whole Israel first agenda, it is the MAGA cult that is following Trump, that refuses to check themselves, that is causing more and more people like me to say, this is not what I voted for. That needs to stop right now. We are not the Democrats. We have to remember what we were voting against, not just what we were voting for. Censorship, cancel culture. When I decided that I wanted to be a part of the conservative movement, the Republican Party, at least at the time, I thought I was fighting on the side of truth. And I still believe that to this day. Ideologically, I believe that to this day. I believe that if you're going to go into an argument, you shouldn't have to assassinate a person's character, because if you truly believe in what you say and you truly believe you're on the side of right, then the truth and the facts should be strong enough to speak up for themselves. But all of a sudden, when it comes to speaking on certain topics, you have to censor people. You have to cancel them because what you're saying no longer makes sense. Candace Owens has not changed. Tucker Carlson has not changed. And although I have seen that Marjorie Taylor Greene has changed her decisions in certain aspects, that's what humans do. When you give them information to show you that they're wrong about something, they should have what is the word I'm looking for? The integrity to admit when they've made a mistake and to change their decision because they knew they were wrong. You don't keep going along with something just so that you don't have to say, I'm wrong. You don't do that. I don't know about you, but I want a leader in office who can turn around and to your face tell you, hey, that wasn't right. We need to fix that. That's what a leader is supposed to do. Not, hey, whether I'm right or wrong, you're going to follow me anyway. This is a decision that I choose to make. This is going to put money in my pocket. And then once I get paid, then we'll talk about you getting paid. No, we don't need leaders like that. We've had leaders like that. And if this Epstein list is going to disrupt everything that we've been trying to build in this country, then that's what needs to happen. If we need to destroy this country, no, not physically. Don't ever take my words out of context and try to sit up here and say that I'm trying to vote for or promote any kind of violence against anyone, because I will never do that. But if we need to tear up the government we currently have in order to build something real and something honest, then it needs to be done. If the Epstein files is that tool that is going to create the real change, not this fake change, not this replace one deep state with another, or possibly even the same deep state, just to confuse and manipulate the public like they've been doing. But if something like the Epstein list is what we need in order to just tear down the entire country and rebuild it from scratch, then release the files. Simply because you campaigned on it and we voted for it, release the files, period. Anyways, man, as you guys can see, man, I've been really, really bothered by a lot of the dumb shit that I hear a lot of these MAGA cult members. I'm not saying everybody MAGA, just like I don't think all Democrats and liberals are so woke that they can't see the moderate side. They can't come to some of the same conclusions that people on the other side are coming to. It's not the people in the middle. It's the people on the extreme right and on the extreme left. MAGA right now is on the extreme right. It's funny because I hear, who was it? Somebody just recently said that I can't say his name on public because I had a video removed from TikTok recently because I used them as a source, not because I believe in everything that they say, but because this one particular message that they had was 100% right. But because I used this person as a source, apparently my video got removed from TikTok. So I'm not going to repeat the mistake, but I have no problems repeating the message. Because I'm not going to let the government, I'm not going to let any one agenda, I'm not going to let a cult tell me who I can and cannot listen to. In fact, what they've done for me is they've achieved the exact opposite of what they set out to accomplish. They don't want us listening to the people who make sense, so they try to cancel them. They try to keep you from listening to anything they have to say. But I've learned over time that the more they puppet and parrot what either the president's saying or what these are, when they say things that's exactly the same thing that another group said about a particular person, I'm going to give that person the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to go listen to what they have to say, because apparently there's something in that message that scares them. If they if I use this analogy a lot, if I have my two kids, I have three, but if, let's say, my two sons, they get into an argument, because I love both of them equally, I'm not going to allow one of them to come up to me and say, so and so did a particular thing and you should punish him as a result. I'm going to talk to the other one. I'm going to listen to their side of the story. And then what I have to do as a parent and a leader in my household is to determine what the facts are, who's lying about what, and then decide what the proper course of action is going to have to be once I get all of that information. That's the way you would hope this country would work, is that our government has so much love for the people on both sides that we, and because we're on the side of truth, facts, and right, that we're willing to listen to both sides to determine what kind of decisions we need to make that's best for both parties. Whether there's a little bit of sacrifice that needs to be made, whether there's some compromise that needs to be made. What we don't do is we don't censor people and cancel people because we're too afraid of the truth that they're speaking. Because the truth that they're speaking is detrimental to the goals that we are trying to accomplish. If the truth is so detrimental to what you're trying to do, then maybe you need to change up what you're trying to do. Maybe you need to go back to the drawing board and figure out how you can get it right instead of trying to force things down people's throats. A lot of people thought that I was such a diehard Republican at one point because I refused to let someone tell me that I have to call a man a woman, or that it was okay to shove pronouns down my throats. So because I was against that, I'm not against the way people want to live their lives. I'm against when people want to invade our own personal bubbles, our own privacy, and tell us what we are supposed to do, that we don't have a choice in the matter. And it wasn't good for the liberals and the Democrats, and it's also not good for the Republicans. You're not going to force every last thing you want down our throats without us being able to say something about it. If you're on the side of right, then what we say shouldn't matter. You should be able to debate excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm so passionate about everything that's going on. I'm spewing things out of my mouth. But if you're on the side of truth and facts and right, it doesn't matter what I say. You should be able to debate the facts without assassinating my character. It doesn't matter who the messenger is. It matters what the message says. Elon Musk had an idea. There was something going on within the Trump administration that not only made him say that Trump's name was in the Epstein files, whether it is or not, and we know that it is, we just don't know what he is or isn't guilty of because he refuses to release the files. But there was something that happened to Elon Musk within his time within the Trump administration that made him say, you know what, we need a new party. We need something different. We need something that actually represents the people. And I truly believed in what he was saying based on all of the information that we had. But I was guilty of allowing these MAGA cult members convince me that if you decide to go in any other direction than with Trump, then you're opening up the doors for the Democrats to win, and we're just going to repeat everything that we've been living through, the struggles and everything else, and the ignorance to our constitutional rights and things like that. We were just going to have to repeat all of that all over again, and I fed into that, and so I did away with the idea that we truly needed a separate party because the Republican Party or the MAGA cult was the lesser of two evils. And in a way, I still kind of believe that. But I think the MAGA cult members have gotten so far off the mark than where we originally started that if me voting in a different direction is going to take away a vote from what they're doing, even if I don't physically give it to the Democrats, that is not my fault. Maybe if you would have delivered on your promises, maybe if you would have been real to the idea that free speech and freedom of expression actually matters no matter who it's coming from or where we got that information. Maybe if you stood true on your principles, we wouldn't be in the predicament that we're in. Stop making other people believe that people like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, etc., are the ones that stopped being consistent. We know that they are searching for the truth. And if the truth isn't with your position or your group, they're going to speak out against it. And they might be wrong sometimes. But again, we're all wrong sometimes. But you're going to ruin someone's career and cancel them because they spoke out against something that you're doing because you might actually just be wrong and you need to actually revisit that, reconsider what you're doing, and maybe change your mind. I love the idea of the American Party, but my idea of the American Party is just a little bit different. When I go to the polls, I don't like the idea that in order for me to vote for a particular Democrat or for a particular Republican, that I have to register as a Republican, meaning that if I register as a Republican, then I can't vote, that I have to vote Republican all the way up and down the line, even though this particular Democrat, like a John Fetterman, for instance, is on the Democratic Party, but I can't vote for him. And I'm not in his state. I couldn't vote for him anyway. But if I was in his state, you're telling me that even though I'm Republican, I can't vote for John Fetterman because I think he's the better person for the job in this particular situation? That's stupid. That's the dumbest shit ever. We are America. And if somebody better represents a position, irregardless of their political party, we should be able to vote for that person. And that's where I think the American Party comes in. The American Party isn't right, left. Basically, what it is something that's bringing the people together. It is a party that is discussing all of the issues. No little fine print, no hidden agendas. Basically, is bringing to the table everything that we need to be aware of so that we can make the best decisions for this country possible because the government is no longer doing it at all, period. I don't know, man. I really want to know what you guys think, man. I know that I'm not big enough right now to, I know I'm not really big enough right now for, there to be a lot of people, excuse me, I'm sorry, in here in the chat asking questions. You're talking about the primary. Yeah, I'm talking about the primary, but in reality, I'm just talking about the election systems and the voting systems, period. To tell me who I need to vote for or that I have to register a certain way in order to cast my vote, I think it's crazy. It shouldn't be that way. I truly believe that regardless of who I register. In fact, I don't even think Americans should have to register as a Republican or a Democrat. I think if we registered as something like the American Party, for instance, and I'm just throwing that out there as an idea to help us focus. But if we were able to either not register or just register as this, we should be able to vote for whoever we want to, whoever we feel is best for the job. And that would force our government to stop putting things in fine print, to stop telling us that in order to get what you want, we also should get what we want. And in these bills and stuff that they try to pass. No, I get that. I know I'm not speaking on everything as eloquently as one of these professionals and stuff might, but that's the whole point of these conversations is that we need more people speaking up. We need more people speaking their minds. And no matter what your level of education is, you should be able to speak the truth as you see it. Because if I'm wrong, I want to be educated on that, just like I was just right now. Yeah, basically, you're only talking about the primaries, but once we get past the primaries, you can vote any which way, in any which direction you want to. I don't think that should be the case at all. What I do believe when it comes to the election system, and I think it was this way when it first started, we as a people, if you're Republican, the Republicans come together first and they decide that you got all these people that want to be president, or whether four or five, however many, and they give their debates. They tell you why they should be the best person for that job. And that's when we get to vote against each and every single Republican. Okay, well, I'm going to vote for Vivek Ramaswamy, or I'm going to vote for a Tulsi Gabbard, or I'm going to vote for a Donald Trump at this particular time. But once that Republican wins the primary, then it doesn't matter who wins, we're going to vote Republican. That's how it should have been, but that's not where we've got. That's not where we've gone. That's not the point that we've come to. People now, it's like, if you don't vote for Donald Trump all the way up and down the line, you're just wrong. If you don't vote for every last person that Donald Trump endorses, you're no longer MAGA. And to me, that's wrong. And again, I don't put the blame off on every person who chooses to call themselves a MAGA supporter. I don't think the problem is ever with the moderates. The problem is with the extremists, the people that have nothing else to do with their lives than to get paid so that they can put these posts out on X and everything else to make us believe that that's what the general public needs to hear. And it's not. We need more regular people, more people that have access to the internet, more people who are speaking out in public, who can tell you, who aren't afraid to stand up and say, you know what, I may not be the most intelligent person in the world, but something's not right with this. I may not, I shouldn't have to vote on three issues at the same time. I should be able to vote on those issues, especially when it concerns, especially when those issues have some kind of major impact on what's going on within the country. I should be able to vote on those issues individually, not as a packaged deal. So again, man, who is it? Asanta, I appreciate you reaching out. We need more conversations from both sides. And I'm hoping that this podcast, whether we're live, whether it's a video, I'm hoping that you guys see that, yeah, I'm going to talk crap. I'm going to speak my mind. I'm going to share my opinions. But at the end of the day, I'm one of the few out there. I don't even consider myself an influencer. I'm one of the few out there that actually wants an unbiased opinions. I want to bring more people together. I want to have these discussions and these debates, even if my intelligence level isn't on par with somebody like a Laura Loomer or a Benny Johnson, or even an Officer Tatum, who I think, unfortunately, I think he kind of got bought out, not necessarily for money, but for the audience itself. So I'm going to get out of here for now. I just wanted to go live because I promised you I would. We're going to go live more every Sunday at 10 a.m. As long as I can help it, unless something else is going on. But we're just a small podcast right now. If you guys enjoy the content and you do want to bring more people together, please feel free to follow me on X, on Facebook, and even on Rumble, so that we can make sure we get the message across. You guys have a great rest of your day. Asanta, again, thank you for joining us, and I will talk to you guys again soon, man. Peace.